Never give up. You're about to listen to the Darla Z, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Award-winning singer-songwriter Darla Z brings you her special guests who share intimate stories about their lives, how they became successful in their chosen fields, how they learned from their mistakes, and how we can all make a positive difference in the lives of others. Welcome to Live from the Hollywood Room with your host, Darla Z.
Hi, everyone. This is Darla Z again with the legendary Peter Lamas, the beauty icon of the stars. In part one, we talked about some of the people that he worked with, and the whole premise behind this show is with Peter, is to help women and help all of us feel beautiful from the inside out. And it's very important to all of us here at Bootleggers and me and to Peter that we have confidence in who we are and we make the best of what we have and we feel good about ourselves and we love world peace. I just threw that in. So in part two of our segment with Peter, we talked about the beauty industry and what things to avoid and how there's some products that we need to watch out for and the importance of having healthy products that we use on our skincare, how we age, and different ways that we can make the outside of ourselves as beautiful as we are inside. And so now this is the one I've been waiting for. This is the juicy segment. This is the one where we're going to hear from Peter on the stories of some of the most famous people that he has worked with and worked on. We heard a little bit about Jackie Onassis Kennedy in the first segment, which was very exciting. But so let's see, what should we start with? Let's see, do we start with Whitney Houston?
Oh, wow. Go right to it, don't you? Oh, yes. Whitney Houston, what do you want to know about her? I mean, she's, you know, when she
How did you meet her? Let's go from the very, I mean, her voice, I love her voice. And so as a singer, you know, I'm very appreciative of her range and her delivery and you know, I Will Always Love You is one of the most beautiful songs she sang, and I love that song by Dolly Parton. But how did you come into contact with her first, and then what was your relationship, and what was she like?
I met her through a friend of mine who did business with her, and he introduced my products to Whitney, and Whitney fell in love with my products. I'm not saying this to plug my products, though it sounds like it. She was so, again, I have my philosophy in designing formulations for my product line is delivering results. They are very special. When you use them, you notice their uniqueness. Performance-driven products. I can't say that enough. And she fell in love with everything, the body lotion especially. Oh, she couldn't live without that body lotion because she always felt her skin was kind of dry and chalky. And she says, when I put that body lotion on, it gives such a lift for the color, for the glow, for the quality, for the hydration. And she says, Peter, if I put it on in the early morning and I go to bed at night, it looks like I just applied it. It doesn't dissipate. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't absorb. It gives a beautiful hydrating glow to my skin 24, 48 hours if I don't bathe the next day. So this is something that I can't live without, and I put it from head to toe. As she says, from all over my décolleté area, my legs, my arms. I mean, I can't live without it. And the shampoos and so forth. But that's how I got to meet her, because my friend recommended the products to her. She fell in love and she says, I want to meet the guy. I want to meet who did these formulations that I'm so passionate about. And we went out for dinner. And when he said, hey, let's go meet Whitney, I'm taking you out for dinner and she wants to meet you. And oh my God, I couldn't move. I put roller skates on. I was moving so fast. That was fun.
I can't imagine how excited you were. I would love to go out to dinner with Whitney Houston.
And yeah. And I told her, But my first impression of Whitney is when I remember her when she started in the mid late 80s, and I followed her through. But when she sang the Star Spangled Banner at that incredible event, and no one has sang that like she did. And I know the story behind what it took. She didn't want to rehearse with a band. The band, most singers go and rehearse with a band. The band feels comfortable. She said, I don't need, let the band rehearse. When I go out, I know what to do. And her brother was edging her. No, you can't. She's in that little, what do you call it? Dressing room, like a trailer. And she was waiting in there. She said, just let me, when I'm ready, I'll come on and I'll belt it out. Well, the orchestra leader and the band, everybody was so nervous because, they want to have that contact with the singer to make sure everything, the pitch, everything. She came out. They said, if they know what they're doing, I know what I'm doing. So she showed up and she sang like no one else has sang the Star Spangled Banner. And that made an enormous impression on me. And when I met her, and ever since, we became, I don't want to say friends, that's exaggerating it, but I got to see her. And the day that it happened, the day that we lost Whitney, I was going to meet her. She was doing sort of like an infomercial before the so-called event at the Grammy event at the Hilton, where it all happened. And that was supposed to start at 6. They said, please, Peter, show up around 3:45, no later than 4, so we can start filming for a good hour, hour and a half, and then we'll go down. You'll escort Whitney, and her friend, my friend, will escort Chaka Khan, who is her best friend. She was flying in, and we were all going to meet at her room and then go downstairs at whatever time, because also that particular event that Clive Davis was throwing at the Hilton for the Grammys, she was being honored because her movie was coming out, the first movie she's ever done after she went through all the so-called incidents due to drugs and losing weight and all of the scandals and everything that was going on with her divorce and so on. And here she is coming back to start again. Her voice wasn't the same, by the way. When this happened, she already had, that voice wasn't what it used to be. But nevertheless, she was trying to have a comeback. And I showed up at 3:45, and God, I hate telling this story. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable, but I showed up at 3:45, and that's when it happened. I was there, and I'm not going to talk about it. I just don't feel comfortable. But yes, we lost an incredible, incredible talent that I greatly respected.
Yes, and that shows the effect that drugs can have on a vocalist, and why you have to take care of yourself as a singer, and that you will lose it when God gives you a talent like that. And
It's great talent, great talent.
Oh, she was awesome.
It was beyond belief. The moment she opened her voice to sing, you was just mesmerized, because there's a lot of great singers like you and Barbara Streisand and Celine Dion, and I mean, I can go on and on. But there was something she had an instrument that was she was in total control of. Yeah. And the way you as a professional, you know what I'm talking about. And it was quite impressive. And yet, yes, look what can happen if you don't, I don't want to use the word appreciate it, but you don't take care of it or value it the way she should have. Because
you can take it for granted. And I mean, Matt Monroe had a beautiful voice, but he was a smoker. And so as time went on, as time goes on, you lose it, and it's sad. Yes. And then gosh, I would just hate that, to not be able to sing. And I just, going off subject a little bit, did you see Celine Dion's performance at the Olympics, the opening ceremony? I mean, every time I watched that, I had tears come to my eyes because of how strong and see, that's an example of someone who's not throwing it away. And then she had something just blindside her with a disease. And the courage. I mean, it's hard to get out there and perform and put yourself forward, and she's on the world stage, and she had to get out there. She hadn't been performing, and the courage that she showed to get out there and then to sing like that. Oh my gosh. I mean,
And it was raining and she was standing at the Eiffel Towers with the orchestra, and she didn't get wet, but she didn't have much protection. And there she is with all her talent, just belting it out.
oh, and still to this day, like, I mean, it is a teary thing for me to admire her for all that courage. So kudos to her. And so now let's see. We've talked about Jackie Kennedy. Have you got any more stories besides, doing her hair for her wedding? I don't know that there's any better story than that.
Jackie Kennedy was something out of this world also. I mean, this woman probably was outside of Princess Di, she was the most famous woman in the world. And being in her presence, getting to know her personally, and building a relationship, a professional relationship that allowed me to get to know her as well as I did, where not too many people had that privilege. It was a great experience for me. Appreciation of her confidence she had in me to make her look good and her children. And we shared many years and experiences in what she experienced in her own lifetime. But here, this is something that I told you early on in another episode that we filmed. I wrote a book, as I mentioned to you, that I'm hoping to get published. And I share a lot of personal stuff that she shared with me, which I won't mention here, but because it's very sensitive. But I did it in a way carefully to put it in print that will be quite interesting to read regarding her experience when she lost her husband. That to me was my jaw dropped. And that's something that the general public doesn't know, and I'm not making it up. And in fact, I mentioned in the book where I can back it up with, so that it's not just hype. And people might think I'm making it all up. Oh, no, I can prove everything that I'm writing in the book and more. So that was something that I felt we all went through that experience that we remember when that awful experience and incident happened. And her interpretation of that event that day that she briefly shared with me, but enough to have my jaw drop, I have it in the book. And these are the things that, when working with Liza Minnelli, early on in her career, and she wasn't that famous, but her mother passed away in 1969 in England, in London, and she was sent over here to be, buried at the cemetery in New York.
Her mother, Judy Garland.
Oh, yeah. Let me mention this, right? Yeah, her mother, Judy Garland, who, The Wizard of Oz, was so famous. And they asked me at Kenneth, I was working at the time, they said, "You've been requested," I knew who, to do her hair. And I said, "I can't, I have to turn it down." And Mr. Kenneth said, "You can't do that. You've been requested." And I said, "I've never been close to a cadaver, let alone work on one. No, I won't do that. I can't bring myself to do that." He says, "Peter, whatever you do, she's going to love." He tried to make it as a joke, kind of to overcome my reputation of, touching a body. He says, "But you have to." And so I went out for a little while. He says, "Take a walk, have a cup of coffee, come back in shortly and give me the final decision. Because if you don't do it, I have to send somebody else. And they're not going to be happy you're rejecting it." So I thought about it. My friend said the same thing. "You're over dramatizing this, go and do it." And so I did. But it wasn't just once, because she was exhibited on Park Avenue at the Armory. I believe it was for 2 days. All her fans came in, and from 10 to 2, they were able to come into the Armory to view her body. Now,
Hundreds of thousands of people, right?
Oh, they came from all over the world. It was just crazy. The lineup went forever. And here I am. In those days, we didn't have dry shampoo. So how am I going to wash her hair? How am I going to set it? How am I going to blow it? I mean, all these things I had to think about it and be able to execute, because they gave me a photo of how they wanted her hair to look like. Her makeup artist had worked with her for so many years at MGM, flew in to apply her makeup, and I did her hair. And we did it, well, he didn't do it that much as I had to do her hair almost every morning until the day she was buried. So it was four or five times that I did her hair, because it was 2 days of exhibit and then 2 days of the being in the funeral home and then the burial. So that's, you know, it was quite an experience for me. But there I was touching Judy Garland. Here's the strange part of it is, I'm watching the American Theater Awards one day. This is now in the 70s, I believe it was, late 70s. I have to check my date, my calendar for that one. And I get a phone call in the middle of the night, about 1 in the morning, from Diana Ross. She says, did you watch the Tony Awards? I said, yes. She says, did you see that the Wiz got the best award for musical and best award for this and that? And did you hear what happened? I heard already. They announced that the Tony Award show, when they won so many medals, awards, I should say, trophies for the best Broadway play, that the movie was being filmed and Diana Ross and Michael Jackson were going to play the leading roles. And I went, oh my God, Diana Ross. Now, I've been working with Diana Ross for many years, a number of years now. And I get a phone call. Yes, I get a phone call at 1 in the morning from Diana Ross asking me, did you watch the show? And did you hear? And she said, you are going to have to cut my hair. I said, Diana, I've always cut your hair. I said, no, you don't understand. I have to cut it very, very short for the film. And I only trust you to do that. So you have to, don't deny me that opportunity. So I said, no, it's cool. We'll do it. And I cut her hair so short.
It was short.
Yeah,
We've got a picture of it. We'll show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Never got that short, but she trusted me, and the rest is history. And she did a great film. But
that's incredible.
yeah.
Well,
and also what do you call that? The series that came out with the Addams Family. I worked on Partitia. I worked on the actual actress. What was her name? Jones, Carolyn Jones, who played the original Morticia on TV.
Yeah, and I know. I can picture her in my head.
And then I worked on Angelica Houston, who also did the film. So I've worked on 2 Morticias and 2 Dorothys.
Well, and Angelica Houston, I saw a picture that you sent me that will also show.
That's what you younger.
Of her in a bob haircut. Now tell me about that bob haircut that you did.
Oh, that's a story itself. Here, and I'll make it quick, okay? But I'm one of my best techniques I have to produce is a bob cut. The way I cut it is such a clean edge. I hope you can show it on screen at some point. And I love the bob. It's an evergreen. It never goes out of style. And it was made famous by Louise Brooks, the silent movie star in the late 20s, who worked on so many famous movies. Louise Brooks. Well, here I am cutting Angelica Houston's hair back in the late 60s. And then Deanna Vreeland said, I love the cut that you did on Angelica. She was a model at the time. She wasn't even an actress. Working for
now,
Vogue.
Diana Vreeland, that's the lady that was the editor of Vogue, right?
Yes, Diana Vreeland is the editor of Vogue, and Angelica Houston is one of the models for Vogue, and a number. She did runway shows and worked and was exhibited in a lot of fashion magazines, for mainly Vogue. And I cut the hair, that bob, for a Vogue layout that they were doing. And so Diana Vreeland, Vogue's editor, came to me and says, remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago when you cut Angelica Houston's hair? I love that bob. Can you duplicate it for a cover of Vogue? And you'll show the Vogue cover, hopefully. And I did it. Yeah, I was so, that was one of my best. But here's where the story, Louise Brooks, who really made it famous in the late 20s. In 1980, mid-80s, early mid-80s, I was doing this client that was recommended to me by another client of mine who lived in New York City. And this lady would come from upstate New York, who lived on a farm, at least 3-4 times a year to New York City to visit a friend and visit me to cut her hair. And there I am cutting her hair, and I loved her. She wasn't too talkative, but I liked her, and I would cut it. And one day, her friend came to pick her up. They were going out to shop, dinner. I mean, at lunch. I don't remember. And she says, "Oh, where is my friend Louise?" And I said, "Oh, she's changing. I'm done with her, and she'll be right out." She says, "Oh, she loves the way you cut her hair." I said, "Yes, I know." She says, "And you do the best bob in New York City." I said, "Well, thank you." She says, "Well, she invented the bob." I said, "What do you mean she invented the bob? What are you talking about?" And she says, "Louise, you know who she is?" I said, "No, she's your friend Louise." I just look at my clients' names. I don't study them. She says, "Peter, that's Louise Brooks. You've been working." I said, I had to sit down. I said, "No, wait. How long? That lady, she's Louise Brooks?" She says, "Yes, take a look at her carefully." Now she's so much older, but I was so flabbergasted to have such a famous character in my shop who created the look that I'm so known for. And there I am working her, and I didn't even know who the heck she was.
It was like serendipity.
Yes. Yes. She asked me when she comes out, please don't admit that you know her. She doesn't. She's very shy. She doesn't want any attention. Said, "Oh, that'll be your secret and mine." But she'll see me nervous. She'll wonder why. All excited.
Don't mind me cutting your hair.
Oh, from then on in, I treated her like royalty, and I just had to keep my mouth shut.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something, and you're so nice and you're so positive, but is there anybody that you worked on that you swore you would never, ever, ever work on her again?
That's not a fair question.
What'd you say?
That's not a fair question. No, I don't talk about anybody. Listen, I can only say, and they were not famous in my lifetime. You know who was challenging? Elizabeth Taylor. I loved her, but she was. I mean, talk about when you have this. What's the deep? I can't remember the name. When you're very nervous and active, and you're constantly, you can't pay attention. Children suffer from that, and they can't learn. What is it called? Disorder, something disorder, and lack of attention. It's you're all over the place. You can't concentrate on one thing at a time.
ADD?
Thank you. She had that big time. She had that big time.
Okay.
She would sit down, and I started working out. Oh, I need to make a phone call. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, I need to get some coffee. I need to get some water. Oh, can I have a magazine? I said, Miss Taylor, we'll be here for hours. Let me please. So I would have an assistant next to me just to go fetch, because if I let her, she wanted to, but no, I had to grab her shoulders. No, so and so, whoever the assistant was, he'll get it for you. She'll get it for you. And oh my God, she had to be on the move. I wonder how they made a film with her, because she was constantly moving around and looking for things to do. She couldn't sit still.
So put us in the time frame of when you were doing her hair.
Oh, you're putting me in a spot here. It was the late 60s also.
Okay, so she was.
Yeah, you want to hear something? She would walk in with
Yes.
Richard Burton to pick her up. Oh, I love that. Oh my God. I was more impressed by Richard Burton than I was by Elizabeth Taylor. And by the way, she does have violet eyes. Her eyes in person, it depends on the lighting, but they are violet. And the lashes can go on forever. She has more lashes, knows what to do with. Yes.
So I don't know that I've ever seen anybody with violet covered eyes.
Beautiful, and they were not ponies; they were her eyes. And
wow.
Beautiful lashes, beautiful brows, beautiful woman, very kind, very nice, but very hyper.
Well, she was certainly a success, and there's a movie that she did with Tyrone Power, and I think it was Suddenly Last Summer.
Oh, I saw that. That was beautiful. It wasn't Tyrone Power. You know who it was? What's his name? Robert.
Montgomery Clift. Clift.
Montgomery, another great talent. They were great friends also.
Oh, that was a good movie.
That was great. Yeah. I saw that movie, and Katharine Hepburn. Oh, wow.
Yes. So tell me, is there anybody else that you have a story with that you want to share?
I have many stories about many. Oh my God, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's God, now you're putting me in a spot. I mean, there's so many, I gotta dig them out of my head, but I just have had to. Oh, here's something. Recently on Hulu, about 3 months ago, a series started on Hulu called The Feud, and it was based on Truman Capote and his icon celebrities in New York City, the society grand dons of New York City, the Gloria Vanderbilts and the Lee Razorwalds and the CZ Gas and I mean, I can drop names left and right, including Babs Paley, whose husband was CBS, he ran CBS, Bill Paley. And it's a very interesting series that I watched. In fact, I didn't belong to Hulu until that series was announced, and I joined Hulu just to watch it. And it was quite interesting. You should watch. And all those women that are in that series, they were all my clients for many years. I've been to their
that's
homes.
amazing.
I got to know them well, and people. In fact, people. It was a People magazine that called me up. They wanted to find out how I felt because they knew that I worked on them, and I had a difficult time telling them how I felt. And I felt. Again, I don't like to talk negative about the people I've worked and got to know, but in the series, if you watch the series, you will relate to what I'm saying. I found it to be very boring. I think as famous as they were, as interesting as they were, as boring as I found them to be. And I'm not saying that to be cruel or mean. I just found that I couldn't relate. I couldn't relate. I found it to be so simplistic.
Well, Gloria Vanderbilt, her son is.
Oh no, Gloria's different. Gloria is one of those rare individuals that I worked on, part of that group that I found fascinating. She was very interesting and lovely woman to know. Artistic.
Well, I remember the Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. I mean,
yes. And her son, I was working on her once, and he was so curious with what was in my bag of equipment, and I had scissors and razors and all kinds of items. And then I said, Gloria, I can't work on you while he's going through my bag because I'm afraid he's going to get cut. So she called a servant to come and get him. And he was being dragged down, and he stuck his tongue out at me. He basically, due to my complaining, I was concerned about the boy, but he was at the time, 7 years old, but he was so angry that I got him out of the room, and he was so curious. That's why he's a great reporter. Because
he's huge. Anderson Cooper, just, big time.
But I've seen him afterwards, and I reminded him once about that experience. He looked at me like, what are you talking about? He didn't remember.
Well, with all these people that you've worked on, and we've touched on it a lot, is there anything else that you want to provide to, we didn't talk enough, in my opinion, about what is going on with the internet and social media and how you can protect your young children, to give them bullying is awful. I did a song called "To All the Gabbies in the World" about domestic abuse, and she was Gabby Petito was a big blogger on social media. I don't know if that's why he ended up killing her, that he was jealous or what, but it's a very real problem that you have scary issues that happen now on the internet, and it's hard to control. So is it really impossible to control, because even law enforcement can't do it. So what advice do you have to give to young people if they've got somebody that has just been plastering social media? You can't really get it to stop. And what should they do? Or that's a really tough question.
I find young people a lot of times won't listen to you. Okay? It's all like how you deliver the message. That's very important to understand with young people. I have grandchildren. I have 3 children, and I have quite a number of grandchildren. And I learned early on, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, how you deliver the message, so it sinks in. Otherwise, they tune you out. children have a tendency to do that. Oh, what do you know? You're going to give me another lecture, and then, we can go. I can give you a million reasons why they will not want to listen to a grown up, and especially a mother or a dad that is giving them advice regarding the internet, which is they're so. And not only kids, we're all connected to this. We're all connected to this. I try not to, if possible, avoid it. I find it to be poison. And I don't mean that to be funny. I just find it to be very distracting and not useful. I find the internet takes my attention away from being creative, from planning, from deciding what it is that I want to do next in my career, in my business, in my life, because you get so distracted by what's going on in that app.
It's really true.
You know,
so maybe the advice is to limit time.
But here's what I'm going with this. I told my granddaughter, who's now, this month, she'll be 21. And when she was 17, 18, 19, she still is to some degree, but not as much. We had a serious conversation at the right time and place that I sat down with her and say, you are being extremely distracted by creating your life and living your life because you're so attached to that equipment that you have in your hand. And that's not living. That is just a distraction that takes a lot of your time. And life is here to be lived and experienced and enjoyed. And you can't spend hours just looking at that equipment that gives you very little satisfaction in the end, because she complained about being criticized. She complained about being told that she was this and being told that she was that. I say, and why do you continue going back and reading those things? Put it down, ignore it. The opinion of others are really not that important. It's how you feel about yourself, how you value and protect yourself from this type of communication that's so destructive. And they don't really know you that well. They don't even care about you. They're just there to be malicious. And you are allowing that to take your attention? Why? I said, that only reflects on how you feel about yourself. If you go back and keep reading those awful comments, it's just making you miserable and sad, and it can be destructive. So stop it right now. Just disconnect with it for a week or 2 or 3.
Yeah, walk away, set it aside.
Here's the thing. If you don't give it energy, they're not going to continue talking about it. They'll only do it if you're reading it and you're getting back at them and you're
That's true.
And you're annoying. You stop giving it energy, it'll go away. I promise you that. I said you have to appreciate who you are, to value who you are, and don't let anyone ever, whether it's through the internet or in person, affect you in a negative way. You don't want that energy around you ever. Get rid of those people that bring you nothing but misery and criticism and try to hurt you. Why would you want to be connected or be their friends? No. Search for others. You'll find decent people in time. But just put that down and don't go back to it for a while. And she did.
It's a tough one, and one I'm sure that's going to be around for a long time because the internet is not going anywhere. My last final question is one that Peter, if you were to look at another 17-year-old person in New York that just arrived off the boat from Cuba or anywhere, and you wanted to give them advice on how they have a dream and they want to succeed, what advice would you give them? Because I'm sure that you have taken risks in your life that either worked or didn't work, or people told you no, you couldn't do it. I'm sure most successful have that common denominator. Successful people have that common denominator of having someone telling them, no, that you're not gonna be able to do that. So what advice would you give a young person that has your dream and drive and in how to succeed and what their love is.
You know, when we grow up, we're programmed. We come into this world as perfect as you can imagine. It's what happens to us as we mature through life, starting right, right from the moment we come into this world and become aware of it. And that affects so much. I tell young people today, and usually I run up against, I don't know, God puts me in front of young men and women that have had a challenging life. I've noticed that. I look up sometimes and say, you're really testing me. You know, because, but he knows why. You know, it is giving a certain amount of verbal explanation to a human being that has been brought up in a household that has been very destructive to them growing up, emotionally, mentally, physically. God, I mean, the horror stories that I've heard, and I have more than one. I must say, one of those young people recently told me, "You earned your wings just by working with me and helping me." And I found that to be the nicest compliment anybody ever gave me, because I made a difference in somebody's life. And this young people, I always say to those people, like, you answer your question. First of all, you've got to respect and believe in yourself. I don't care how bad it's been. You can't lose sight of that. You are unique. You are a great human being that has been put through a lot of challenges in your life, but that can only strengthen you. Use it to strengthen you, not use it to weaken you or to make you angry or upset. But learn from that, become strong from that, and create in your mind, because it begins in your mind, what you want to do the rest of your life. And I knew I read a book a long time ago by Dickens, Great Expectations. That title got imprinted in my forehead. And I've led my life through expecting great things to happen. And in most cases, it has. I didn't want an ordinary life. I wanted an extraordinary life. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I didn't know I was going to go and have to leave, I should say, my country and everything we own, our home, our finances, everything, and come to a strange land, not knowing the language, and begin from scratch, hoping and praying to God that everything would turn out in a safe and, you know, loving way that I would like to see my life turn out to be. And it did. I was expecting that. I didn't know how. I had that great expectation. To me is the law of attraction. I don't know. I know what I wanted. I've always been have a great imagination about how I want to see my love turning out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always work that way, but it always works in helping me, guide me to create that life that I am talking about now that I've written a book out. But I knew I wanted to meet extraordinary people. I knew I wanted to have an extraordinary life. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but that was in my mind, and I never let go of it. And that's how it's turned out. And I tell that to the young people. Put in your mind what it is that you want. You got to figure out first what you want, because if you're going to be confused, we're going to have a problem. But just figure out what you're good at and begin there. Even if it's washing dishes, be the best dishwasher you can be. Even if it's waiting on table, be the best waiter or waitress you can be. Whatever it is, but you take baby steps in life when you're young, and you continue with that attitude of, I'm going to be good at whatever it is that I'm going to do. And you continue doing that as you expand in your experience in life.
Yeah, and what you're saying there about being the best that you can be, I saw a commencement speech by a wonderful Supreme Court Justice, Mariano Paula, and he did the same thing. He was like, if you're going to be a mechanic, be the best mechanic you can be. And it's amazing to me when you're out at a restaurant or wherever, and you come across somebody that's like that. And it's so refreshing that I always think about Mariano Paula. And now it's so funny that you share the same trait as this man who's highly respected too in the legal field. I think that's true. I think we should strive to be the best. I also agree with imagery and believing when you said great expectations, at the very beginning in our first part series, you talked about how you wanted to start at the top, you know, and I feel that same way too. My first show was with Willie Nelson. So you can't get anywhere if you don't dream big, and then you have to expect it. It's true.
And believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It's so important, because if you don't have that, the first critic that comes along, you're going to be devastated.
It's true.
You can tell me, Peter, you stink at what you do. I don't believe you for a moment, because I know I have, and you've seen my work, I have talent. You can criticize me till the cows come home. I'm not going to listen to you. I believe in me. I don't believe in what you're saying. I believe in me. And that's where it starts and ends.
I love that. And I see it, and you have lived that life, and what a storied life. And I can hardly wait to see, either read your book or see it in a TV series, which is, I think, the way it's going, because I would be enthralled to hear more of your life experiences.
One more thing I'd like to bring across. My life hasn't been perfect. I've gone through a lot of challenges in my life. Right from the moment when I was 17 and I had to leave my country, as I told you a number of times now in this interview. But all through my life, it's like waves, you know, sometimes life does that to one.
It does.
You gotta know how to ride the waves, you know, and you don't become critical, and you don't become sorry about, oh, poor Peter. And, you know, it is something that I'm learning always from these experiences, because here's the hardest part for me to experience in my entire life: live in the moment. You've heard that many times, but it's not easy to put into practice. Live in the moment. And I've learned, when I live in the moment, somehow, no matter how challenging, how tragic it may be, things turn out always for the better. Somehow it always happens that way. Live in the moment. That's what the hardest thing for me to do and remember, but I practice it till this day.
I love that. And I also know that you're a man of faith, and I appreciate that. And I also believe that that helps us get through a lot of things in life, and just feeling the love of God, get through those valleys that you said we all go through.
God is always with you. If you forget that, you've got a major problem to deal with, because I do have that faith. I really do. And I don't go around preaching it. I practice who I am in my actions, and how I behave myself, how I conduct myself. And I like to be an example for young people, not people like us, and I don't care about them, but the younger people I want to create. And I do work with younger people. I haven't shared that with you, and it's not necessary for me to brag about or talk about, but I feel like you got to give back in life. If you've been blessed, you just don't become a hog. You got to give back and learn how to share. Yes,
I agree. And then, like Muhammad Ali always said, is you've got to prepare to meet your maker. So on that note, Peter, thank you so very, very much for being on this show with us. And we love your class and your positive message and everything, your products and your mission in life. And we love the beautiful people you've created, and just your beautiful self. So thank you so very much, Peter.
I'm going to plug my website, peterlamas.com.
Love it.
Most amazing products in the world, if I may pitch that. Thank you for allowing me. And thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. You are so talented. You are so beautiful. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, well, God bless you. And we will be talking again soon.
Thank you. Bye now, love.
Okay.
You have been listening to Darla Z, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Be sure to check out all our shows and download our app at www.bootleggersmusicgroup.com. The Bootleggers Music Group is dedicated to bringing you uplifting, educational, and inspiring shows for the love of God, one tune, and one show at a time. Be sure to visit Darla Z at www.darlaz.com to learn more about your award-winning host.
Thanks for listening to or watching the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Executive producer, Paul E. Jones.